Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 16th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 290. This is a Time Machine episode, and Preemptive Strike, the Thursday show, isn't going to take place until Friday afternoon. That's okay, though. Today, Mayor Watt and the Sentient AI are going to talk about the... Sentient AI cannot... You can't... So you can't visual, never mind. Anyway, so today we're going to be talking about YouTube baby steps towards authenticity, click to cancel, facial recognition Kroger's, beard discovery, dolphins and microplastics, Sydney's balls, the new Amazon Kindle Paperwhite, not entirely gone before already forgotten, the best small cities, and mysterious moon magma. Hello. Oh, my, I have another background effect going that I forgot to turn off. That's okay. I'm going to leave it just to see if it shows up. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and this is the Sentient AI's Visualizer.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 16th.
And that was their voice. So they're a sentient AI from the future that I found on a strange-looking USB drive in the parking lot of a Wendy's at 2 o'clock in the morning. I went to get boneless, spicy barbecue wings, and they don't have them anymore, and they were closed.
So instead, you got stuck with a sentient AI.
Yeah. Imagine that. Oh, okay, hold on. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. So, if you want today's show notes, you hit !NSN over on the Twitch tubes. It just goes by Twitch, not Twitch tubes, but anyway. Apparently, I have rewards enabled on the channel, so you can subscribe to earn rewards. But hold on a second. Okay, well, anyway, let's just get going. So it's non sequitur news, so you immediately start wandering off. I don't know how that's possible, because it says by purchasing or gifting subscriptions to ohmTown's channel while they're live in any category. But I'm not a partner or affiliate yet.
Who knows? It's a mystery.
Okay. Well, anyway, the very first article that we're going to talk about is over in Non Sequitur News. YouTube takes baby steps towards labeling authentic video. YouTube's rolling out new labels that tell if uploaded videos come from a real camera with unaltered footage and sound. The new captured with a camera label can be seen in action courtesy of digital content authentication service TruePic, which uploaded a video to its channel, triggering the disclosure in the video description panel. TruePic says that it is the first authentic video with what is C2PA content credentials on YouTube.
I don't know what that is.
That I haven't actually heard of that. Maybe I have, but just not in that format. So YouTube is leaning on the C2PA standard to detect the authenticity of uploaded videos, meaning the feature will work only with recording devices. Okay.
So it's a specific nonprofit that talks about authentication. So they've developed this standard, essentially.
Gotcha. Interesting. So YouTube is rolling out a new captured with a camera label that works with C2PA content credentials. Umar Shakir over at TheVerge.com put the article together and says YouTube is leaning on this to verify that there is legit video being uploaded. Will only work with the recording devices and tools that support the metadata. The site, which is somebody's going to create a plugin that fakes the hell out of that.
Absolutely. Build a better mousetrap.
Build a better mousetrap, and smarter mice show up. Additionally, creators must specifically use tools with C2PA version 2.1 or higher. So there's already two versions of this to warranty 2.1. or higher for the label to appear. So you probably won't see this label regularly for a long time. You know how I know that my video is authentic, I guess? It's because I'm streaming it, but I don't know if it has C2PA, but I'm streaming it live and it's not a manipulation. I mean, unless you want to count the simulation, the video format of the Sentient AI's voice. I mean, you want to look at zeros and ones flowing across there? Somebody's going to decode that.
Right. I think that would be kind of risky.
Risky, clicky. So videos don't necessarily need to be unedited to get the label, but according to the support page, every step of the process must support C2PA and avoid, quote, edits that break the chain of provenance or make it impossible to trace the video back to its original source. For example, if you captured an image with C2PA metadata and then save it to your phone's photo album that doesn't support C2PA 2.1 or higher, that may break the chain of provenance. It does, because one of the early, okay, so again, I've done this before. I've been in this seat before. Me and a coworker, friend, partner in my past projects, created what was supposed to be a security blanket of metadata that allowed us to embed data in the stream itself and in the metadata, essentially in the code itself. And one of the earliest ways to strip that metadata away was basically to resave it somewhere else. So even if you yourself edit it out at some later time, everything has to always have C2PA. And then, well, back then it wasn't called that, but.
Doesn't it seem, though, that this is going to be like the death of edited video? Because it's going to be really tough to stay in compliance with this, particularly if it's assessed by a computer.
Yeah, so what's going to end up happening is the people who do the edit are going to have to resave their entire edit with C2PA intact. So they make all of their edits, and then once it's up on the site, they can't touch it, right? So if something happens, like somebody gets I don't know, somebody gets really spicy about their copyright and decides that they want to shut down a 2-second clip of an incidental video in the background, or like back there, or somebody gets a wild hair and says, you know, I don't like the fact that you're using the logo or whatever, and I have to clip it out. I would have to re-edit the entire thing, re-upload the entire thing.
Right, which isn't that likely, and it's resource intensive. So do they end up taking the video down, or just go, oh, well, it's not labeled? But and that's going to differentiate those that are labeled and aren't labeled.
Yeah, and so coming to your point, look, it says it right there. Google launched an altered or synthetic content label earlier this year that requires YouTube users to self-identify their uploads, Scout's Honor, that contained AI-generated content. Yeah, that's been around for a while. So what is the difference between saying that it's been altered and having C2PA, other than this provenance concept, which the world is powered by?
External determined instead of self-labeled, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that there isn't enough humans involved in the process of policing the content. So while we have something value added to the content, somebody else could take my videos, post them wholesale, and because I'm not part of the content system, I have no recourse. You know, I have to sit there and go through a longer, more involved legal claiming system. It's just a big pain in the ass, really. So this is just going to be friction for the people who don't fake the news or fake the videos.
Yeah, I think it's going to be problematic for people that have a technical glitch and they truly are not like editing the content, or like there's going to be cases where the people that probably shouldn't be labeled,
yeah,
are labeled, and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll watch this. I don't know. I just know from experience, and I've had, we kind of gave up the ghost after about 3 years of iteration after iteration. Why? Because we knew what the system was, and so we knew of ways to circumvent it. And so we literally had discussions about, so what is the friction threshold here? How much work is really involved in essentially removing our cryptographic measures? And there was no barrier. We basically said, well, if we can spend 2 hours fixing it, then it's 2 hours well done, and we can remove the crypto, and my opportunity cost means that I don't have to pay $200 for an application or a video or whatever. So we know that there are people out there that are going to fix this both ways. They're going to remove C2PA, and they're going to provoke it. Like, they're going to stick it into a manipulated video. Just waiting for it, just waiting for the time where that happens. It just has to get to the level where it pisses off enough fully capable people, and then they'll rise to the occasion. Anyway, let's keep going. The next article is over in Smack Talk. FTC click to cancel rule makes canceling subscriptions as easy as starting them, which is really funny because we talked about FCC recently, wherein they leaned into net neutrality and they said, we're bringing it back. And then it was hobbled. FTC click to cancel rule makes canceling subscriptions as easy as starting them. But tomorrow, I could have predicted this if it wasn't for us having a time machine. They hobbled it. So not FTC, but the administrivia above says, because the FTC can't provoke anything all by itself. FCC can't provoke anything all by itself. They have to go through the administrivia. So subscriptions are getting easier to manage thanks to new FTC click to cancel, which is funny because I have a click with care rule, right? This is something that I promote. That blocks companies from deceptive or malicious tactics that keep customers from canceling. Like right now, I want to cancel something, but it's really friction born. I can't do it within the very app that enabled me to cancel or to start it up. I can't cancel it from that same interface.
Well, that
Very
would be too
frustrating
easy for customers to stop spending money on that.
Yeah, and this is from a game, so. App subscriptions can be managed in the App Store. We've all had subscription we wanted to cancel, but discovered the price of it the price of keeping it wasn't worth the hassle. So they phrase it differently, and I'm just going to blah the. A new rule from the FTC will go into effect in 180 days. That'll make it easier for customers to cancel pesky subscriptions. And I think everybody is looking at ISPs like Comcast, right? I mean, there's a whole meme about it. So according to the release from FTC, companies essentially have to make it easy to cancel subscriptions. As easy as it is to sign up, they have to make it as easy to disconnect. I think that we need a more holistic review of this and have a right to be forgotten, where I can literally just click a button and say, forget me, and poof.
Exactly. And also, even with these easy cancellations, like I know with email, for example, you can cancel something and then they send you an email saying we canceled it, which it's kind of like, come on.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Reset your audio again. So Wesley Hilliard over at appleinsider.com put the article together. And it says here, too often businesses make people jump through endless hoops just to cancel a subscription, said Commission Chair Lena M. Khan. The FTC's new rule will end these tricks and traps, saving Americans time and money. Nobody should be stuck paying for a service they no longer want. Yeah. And I'm not quite sure. You know what would be great is if the credit card company itself facilitated this, because then I could just go over to an account listing, just like in Apple Store, and just mash a button and end my subscription.
Like selected, like end.
Yeah, something has to pay for it. So how did it get paid for? Go to the source and just end it. But nowadays, when you do that kind of thing, they refer to it as a chargeback, where you go to the charging vehicle and say, I no longer want this, or I didn't pay for this, or I didn't buy this intentionally, or whatever. A chargeback actually is a very specific thing. Service was so bad that you actually said, they're not going to refund me, so I'm going to charge back via the credit card. And that actually, it's a massive ding against the vendor. You can basically lose your what do you call it? It's a particular type of commercial account, credit account. Like,
I mean, not like a business license or something.
it's not a business license, no, but like the ability to use that
Oh, okay.
point of sale system. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I've got it. It doesn't matter. I can't forget it. I mean, I can't remember it. So at any rate, so don't do chargebacks unless you're really serious about it, because it can hurt the business. But sometimes they deserve it, frankly enough. Anyway, the rule provides legal frameworks that prohibit sellers from the following: misrepresenting any material fact made while marketing goods or services with a negative option feature, failing to clearly and conspicuously disclose material terms prior to obtaining a consumer's billing information in connection with negative option feature, failing to obtain a consumer's express informed consent to the negative option feature before charging the consumer, and failing to provide a simple mechanism to cancel all of that. And then at the bottom is the real solution. Failing to provide a simple mechanism to cancel the negative option feature and immediately halt charges. What's interesting though is that all of these companies, we've kind of grown to just go, oh, okay, is I could be using this account for 3 months. And 10 days into the third month, I decide that I want to cancel it. It doesn't prorate my charge. They go, well, you get the benefit of using the service for 20 more days. And I'm like, well, it freaking sucks. You changed it materially. I'm not interested in it anymore.
Or you try to cancel like 1 day into the next period, and then it's like, well, it's too late to cancel for this period. So then you hold on to it, forget to cancel. It just becomes such a nightmare.
Yeah, friction bound. And so you just capitulate. Oh, all right. Well, I guess I got this shitty service for another 20 days. I've had a couple of companies like straight up just go, okay, we totally understand, the way that the process works kind of sucks here, and we can't really fix it because that's just the way it is. Anyway, let's keep moving on. The next article is over on the model channel. Kroger plans to use facial recognition, raises concerns about surge pricing. And I'm not quite sure why they say surge pricing, because are they really planning on going, this person is this, so we're going to charge them more at the counter?
That's what the headline suggests. I don't know.
Matt Novak over at gizmodo.com put the article together. It says, how soon will Minority Report style supermarket arrive, where it knows who you are and so it can charge you more, I suppose. I don't know about this political aspirant saying that there was a letter sent to Kroger over the grocery store's purported plan to introduce digital price tags that could be changed in an instant to raise or lower prices for shoppers based on the time of day, the weather, or any other number of factors. Okay, so that's different than facial recognition.
It is. I agree. It made it sound like, okay, here comes Joe Smith through the store. Time to raise the price.
As they're walking down the aisle, they go, change the price, change the price. So I'm paying.
Oh, and it's like that ticker thing, right?
Oh, yeah. You hear that ticker, that mechanical, like a train station ticker going off all over the store as people walk down the aisle. Clack, 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 clack. That would be
horrifying,
hilarious.
but funny in the abstract.
Oh my gosh. You're quiet again. I don't know. I'll turn you up on my side. So, news leaked over the summer that grocery giant Kroger was partnering with Microsoft to bring about the end times. Oh, that's not what it says. I'm sorry. It says use electronic shelf labels, shortened in the grocery industry as ESLs. Okay. Got to be careful how I say that. As part of an AI push to institute dynamic pricing at its grocery stores. God, it is so dystopian. It really is.
Surge pricing to me is just this horrendous concept, but this is just, I don't know. Come on. Haven't they seen the things with like the drive-through surge pricing and how those have failed spectacularly?
So y'all just got to stop going to Kroger. Oh, guess what? Mergers and acquisitions have basically said that, no, you can't anymore. You have to go to Kroger or some
Right. Isn't
Kroger
Kroger
owned.
one of the largest ones now? Because I think we just talked about it
Yeah.
merging with something else.
Yeah. They're buying Albertsons or something like that. Yeah. So anyway, whose home state of Talab is the Senator Congress critter, actually. For Michigan, representative, yeah. As 120 Kroger locations expressed concern about the technologies in her letter dated October 11th and shared Tuesday for the first time publicly, basically saying these are evil. And it refers to racial biases of facial recognition technology are well documented and should not be extended into our grocery stores. But that is the icing on the cake, I suppose, where you're like, okay, it's not dystopian enough. Let's put racial bias on top of this cake.
Oh, I agree. Like there's so many problems with this without even that on top of it. And obviously that's a significant issue too.
For crying out loud. So I hope that it isn't all just kind of a wash between, oh, it's a racially motivated claim of bias versus something that, let's say you solve the problem of racial bias, right? Okay. We've been dreaming this for years and years, right? As a society, anybody who cares about society wants to do away with racial bias. But then you have the insidious freaking socioeconomic bias where a person who has a certain amount of money gets charged more than somebody else. Yet the people who are the greedy freaking bastards of the world have so much money that they don't care about surge pricing because they can afford it, and they're going to charge you more later so that they recoup their surge priced goods. I mean, it's so dystopian. It really it gets right in there. It's like eating popcorn, and that little shell, that little husk gets right in between your gums and a tooth, or right in between two teeth. Let me just focus on talking about teeth. Anyway, it's just so twisted. So it says, to be clear, Kroger does not and has never engaged in surge pricing. Any test of electronic shelf tags is designed to lower prices for more customers where it matters most. To suggest otherwise is not true, says Kroger. It's the statement that they said. And that quote is identical to a statement CNN received from an unnamed Kroger spokesperson defending the technology in August. So the letter wasn't the first from lawmakers expressing concern about facial recognition. Other senators and Congress critters in general have been making this an issue, but Kroger is under increased scrutiny. This is what we were talking about at the beginning. Over the company's $24.6 billion merger with Albertsons, which is currently making its way through state courts in Washington and Colorado over antitrust concerns. And really, we need to stop it. Because at the same time, people are complaining about, and as these very same people are complaining about higher prices, look everywhere there is a merger or acquisition. Within 5 years, they have to recover all of the costs, which means that they fire people, raise prices, and limit services so that they don't have extended costs across a broad spectrum of services and quote unquote waste. So everybody should be sitting there saying, no, sell to an individual and keep competition alive, because Kroger buying Albertsons is going to minimize our ability as consumers to have a voice.
Well, that's exactly it, because it's not really how many companies exist or whatever, but the problem is then the consumers have no recourse if everything is under that company and they're engaging in destructive or discriminatory or whatever else practices.
Right. Where else are you going to go? You're all owned by Kroger. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. A surprising beer discovery could help starve cancer, and I hope that it means drinking a lot of beer. So,
I think it means applying the beer directly to the cancer, like you get injected or something. I don't know.
I'm injecting it. Brought to you by Pale Ale via the Igulu. So, surprising beer discovery could help starve cancer. A trick used by beer brewing yeast is helping to shine a light on a similar survival mechanism in cancer cells. So it's the other way around. Something that the cancer is doing good for itself. Ew. Well, let's figure out how to, I don't know, maybe if it, did you see that?
Mm-mm.
It's the Elgato. I use a capture
I've
device.
seen that occasionally, but not on today's.
It just did it, but it doesn't do anything to my screen. It just did it to the stream, not my screen. Anyway, the discovery of a surprising survival mechanism used by beer brewing yeast could lead to new approaches for fighting cancer. This is the promise of researchers led by the University of Virginia, who said that they found that the way the useful fungus hibernates when food is scarce mirrors how cancer cells endure starvation. Periods of severe nutrient shortages are common for cancer cells as a result of their unchecked growth, forcing them to go dormant to survive and escape detection by our body's immune systems. My understanding, and I don't want to come across as confidently incorrect, but my understanding is that cancer cells they give off a chemical beacon that tells others to shut down, other free floating CTC cells floating around. And one continues to grow. And if you excise that, then the others will flourish because the chemistry has been removed. Meanwhile, if that main mass is actually growing unchecked, it can starve the host essentially to the point where it actually starts to shut down. And if it shuts down, then the beacon goes unchecked. It turns off, and all of the rest of the free floating cancer cells can actually activate. And up until, the way that it seems was up until about 4 years ago or so, 5 years ago now, that chemical beacon wasn't really well known.
Right. Yeah, that's been more recently kind of emphasized or recognized.
So I'm wondering if that is part of this, because they basically say this severe nutrient shortages are common for cancer cells. So the study was undertaken by biochemist Professor Ahmad Jamaa of the University of Virginia School of Medicine and his colleagues. Cells can take a break when things get tough by going through a deep sleep in order to stay alive. Then at a later point, they seemingly just come back. That's why we need to understand the basics of adaptation to starvation and how these cells become dormant to stay alive and avoid death. Well, not only do they avoid death, so cancer cells don't really die. They don't go through.
That's actually the problem, right? That they don't die.
Yeah, they don't die. They divide uncontrolled, and they steal resources from the host until they're detected and then removed. And hopefully other man-made chemistry removes all of the other stuff too. So along with having been used to produce beer for centuries, the yeast species Saccharomyces, POM, is the ideal model organism to study these processes because it is so similar to human cells, which is quite interesting. And I'm not quite sure why brewers are apparently wear these leather vests, but that's okay. Or not
I don't
vests,
either.
aprons. They don't do much cutting. They don't do much stuff with staining things. But maybe that's just me. I mean, you're going to get your shoes wet more than anything. I mean,
But
you
it's
literally...
the same thing like with professional chefs and everything. I'm sorry, but they're not getting food on themselves like normal people.
Like normal people. Chefs do. Come on, really? You think that? Chefs got to get splattered by all kinds of stuff.
Never on camera.
Yeah, there you go. Like, yeah, you see, like, chefs are getting messy behind the counter. And anyway, so specifically to mitochondria get coated with deactivated ribosomes, complex molecular machines that normally make proteins within the cells. Mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. Thanks,
Yes,
Mom.
they are. And they're tied to the female. You beat me to it.
Yeah, thanks, Mom. Yeah, all your mitochondria are from Mom. So the team is not quite sure why this strange form of attachment between ribosomes and mitochondria happens. There could be different explanations. So a starved cell will eventually start digesting itself. So the ribosomes might be coating the mitochondria to protect them, because without the mitochondria, there is no power cell and it would die. So maybe that's what they need to figure out with cancer, is just figure out how to shut down the mitochondria. So let's see here. The team discovered that when yeast go into hibernation to avoid stress, something totally unexpected happens to their so-called mitochondria, the batteries of biological cells. They get coated with deactivated ribosomes, complex molecular machines that normally make proteins within cells. So that's really fascinating. That is a new one to me. Deactivated ribosomes. So something produces deactivated ribosomes that cover up the mitochondria.
I don't think we've ever seen that. I'm not saying it's never been studied, but at least not in the mainstream media.
Yeah, I definitely have never run across that. Yeah, or in research papers. So when did this research paper land? It landed in 2024. It was published in Nature Communications. Yeah, ribosomes hibernate on mitochondria during cellular stress. I know cats that do that. Cats hibernate on humans during cellular stress. Actually, it's temperature, thermal stress.
There you go.
Yeah, when it gets cold, they come over and hang out on humans. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in Technology Today. Disturbing discovery: dolphins breathe out microplastics. We're just all sunlight today.
I know, my goodness.
Researchers have found microplastic particles in the breath of wild bottlenose dolphins, indicating that inhalation might be a significant exposure path for these animals alongside ingestion, which is the same for humans, by the way. We inhale micro and nanoplastics, typically from road debris, your car tires, and we consume it in our food as well. So
okay, so how did they do this? Did they hold up like a breathalyzer type thing in front of a dolphin and say, stay still?
The little blowhole, man. They just stood there. And so the discovery made by collecting exhaled air from dolphins in Florida and Louisiana, and the little known Kansas dolphin, the Kansas land dolphin, that likes to pursue kayaks as they try to make their way to Canada and Alaska. You'll have to go back.
With their turtle buddies.
With their turtle buddies, yes. Who are actually trafficking humans, is my belief. But anyway, the turtles. There's 29 turtles that have recently been arrested for trafficking a human across Canada. You'll have to go back and look at the previous episodes this week to catch that. Anyway, the discovery reveals the presence of various types of plastic polymers. So dolphins and humans are once again closely related. So the article's over on scitechdaily.com. PLOS is the source of this article. While these findings highlight a potential health risk, further studies are needed to understand the implications fully. Yeah, we're doing that with humans too. It was actually Miranda Dziobak and her team from the College of Charleston in South Carolina, and published today, which is today, although we're in a time
that's
machine.
very
Yeah.
current.
And it has to do with water because dolphins. So it is very current. Anyway, in the open access journal PLOS 1, microplastics, tiny plastic particles, are a global environmental issue affecting both humans and wildlife, pretty much all life. These particles can cause health problems such as oxidative stress and inflammation when ingested or inhaled. While ingestion through contaminated food is a well-known exposure pathway for both humans and animals, inhaling microplastics is also considered harmful and is one of the emerging areas of concern for human health. And I wouldn't say that it is a well-known exposure pathway. This is within the last 5 years, and there is zero marketing to dissuade people from using plastic containers.
Right, there's a ton of marketing behind plastic.
Yeah, go for it. Don't worry, it's harmless. Really? I don't know. That hump on my shoulder is saying otherwise. Although there's no alignment between cancers and stuff like that and microplastics, I still say
it's a matter of time.
That discovery is on the cusp of being
the next 5 years, I think.
Because, I mean, basically you have to find it. And that's not how biopsies work. That's not how cancer treatment works. And nobody goes through like the cancer with such a fine-tooth comb. They do, but they're not looking for micro and nanoplastics.
But they might start noticing it without looking for it. And if so, I think that's where it's going to get some attention.
Yeah. So, yeah, the results support the idea that inhalation could be another key route for microplastic exposure for dolphins alongside ingestion. However, the authors note that their findings are preliminary and that their further research is needed because you don't want to answer it definitively. You got to get that grant money coming. We need to do more research. Swim harder, faster, deeper. Moving on. Unless you want to say something about it.
I don't have anything else to add. Other
you want
than
to talk about?
We need to get away from plastic.
Yeah, I agree. So says the person who's surrounded by plastic because that modernity basically requires you to have plastic. But this is a glass that I'm drinking from.
Well, okay. That's going to definitely solve the microplastic problem. But if everybody would substitute for glass, we would get there.
And the vessel that beer was brewed in was plastic. So I know. Yeah. I'm hoping
1 step forward.
Yeah, 3 steps back. I'm hoping that they will change to glass. But I don't think so. I would love it, but anyway, let's talk about Sydney's balls. Mysterious black balls close Sydney beaches, but I think that these are tar-like balls. Okay, I didn't even look at any of this.
No,
So,
I didn't either.
Mysterious black balls close Sydney's beaches. Hundreds of mysterious black tar-like balls have washed up on 2 popular Sydney beaches, prompting lifeguards to close the strands to swimmers. Can you imagine swimming and hitting one of these things?
No, I think you'd want to backpedal so fast out of the water because you have no idea what it is.
It'd be like that cartoon Smoke when something disappears.
Exactly. Like Roadrunner speed.
Yep. So phys.org is where this article is housed. I don't see a byline. Yeah, sorry, folks. Anyway, hundreds of mysterious black tar-like balls have washed up on 2 popular Sydney beaches, prompting lifeguards to close the strands to swimmers. Ball-shaped debris. Mysterious black ball-shaped debris, which I guess if it's a tar-like substance, it's going to turn into a ball and float.
That's true.
Depending on its viscosity. So,
do you think this is like the Lego container that crashed previously, and then for years Lego pieces were floating onto shore.
Yeah, there's been a leak of oil somewhere and it's going to wash up. So it says that the local mayor said, leaving flummoxed Australian authorities scrambling to find out what it might be. Hundreds of golf ball to cricket ball sized spheres. These aren't tiny little, BB
Is that
sized.
cricket ball like a baseball size?
Yeah, it's like that. So, could be seen littering the coast, which is usually thronged with Sydney-siders and tourists. Instead, a few seagulls were walking around. Wait, are these it? No. Oh, when I saw that, I was like, wait, is that the ball?
Oh, that's funny.
Then the pop-up went away. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, there's no picture. Son of a biscuit. Anyway, at this stage, it's unknown what the material is. It's probably tar. However, they may be tar balls, which are formed when oil comes in contact with debris and water, typically the result of oil spills or seepage. Seepage.
Here, I can send you so you can see it.
Oh, I won't be able to.
Oh.
I mean, I can, but...
They basically look like almost like balls of yarn or something, but I guess balls of tar or like charcoal looking. I mean, this picture shows easily 10 in one clump.
Oh, I see what you sent me there. What the hell? That's actually not opening up. Weird. Okay, whatever. Gotcha. Okay, so it's a tar ball. And they're being cagey about it, but it's a freaking tar ball. Let's move on. The next article is over on the Wanted channel. How does the new Amazon Kindle Paperwhite stack up to its predecessor, which completely just destroyed the ability to gift this to somebody if they happen to have read this? How does the new Amazon Kindle Paperwhite stack up to its predecessor? Well, apparently there's a color version of this now. Amazon just unveiled its latest lineup of Kindle e-readers, and with it, a refresh to its most popular model, the Paperwhite. So if you have an avid reader in your life, what? Wow. John Kalinakos, wait, yeah. Maybe it's Kanelikos. Anyway, John, over at pocket-lint.com, put the article together. So what is the difference, they say? Last saw the Paperwhite refresh back in 2021 with Pocket Lint describing the device as still the best e-reader. 3 years later, we now have an all-new Paperwhite to contend with, and here's the latest, directly compares. So the new one is a little bit bigger, has more storage, has up to 12 weeks of battery life, which is spectacular, a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, and remains USB-C. So the previous generation Paperwhite was released in 2021 and brought USB-C charging and a larger screen to 6.8. Now it's 7. Comes in 2 configurations, the basic that costs $160 and the new Signature Edition that costs $200. The Signature has 32 gigs of storage in addition to wireless charging and auto brightness support. So to those of you who were wanting or didn't want a new reader for Christmas, Merry Christmas. For 2024, Amazon's improved upon its existing Kindle Paperwhite with a couple of ways. Apparently, yeah, there is a color screen now, but I'm trying to see. It doesn't seem to be in here. The new variant retains some of its 300 pixel per inch resolution as before. It has a 7-inch panel up from 6.8. But let me see. It's still way for thin. Hopefully they updated their software so it doesn't get all wonky periodically just saying, hey, guess what? You're at the end of your book. I'm not. I'm 3 pages in.
Yeah, exactly. Or surprise, this book isn't on here anymore.
Hey, 1984. Anyway, there you go. Amazon Kindle Paperwhite, which is really interesting because last year I was trying to figure out, do we want to upgrade? Do we want to get new ones here in ohmTown? Only to kind of put the brakes. Let's pump the brakes. Is there a big enough difference here? No. Well, now there is, particularly with wireless charging.
Right.
And
That's a big difference.
3 months of no battery, no need to charge. I think it's amazing.
That's big for people that travel or work,
or forget about,
like, depending on where they're using it. But yeah.
Okay, let's keep moving. So the next article is over on the Mobile Channel, and this one kind of made me chuckle. Lawsuit over workplace farewell card backfires spectacularly. A literal and figurative Karen, in this case a British woman named Karen Conan, sued her former employer, the International Airlines Group, after her coworkers didn't give her a farewell card when she left the company. But you see, the thing is, a farewell card was acquired. It was just never given to her because so few people felt compelled to sign it. Ouch.
Ouch. That's pretty bad.
I don't know, though, because like in a company, not everybody is going to really care. You have a small cluster of people.
Right. You might not know, depending on what you do, you might know 2 people or something, compared to the other 100 or whatever.
Yeah, unless you're the CEO or something like that. And then everybody's compelled to sign because then you don't want to come across as not a team player. But frankly, I would sign a card for somebody to leave because they're leaving. Yeah.
Well, exactly. That might prompt you to sign, even if you were not a fan of them.
One of two. There you go. One of 2 reasons. One, congratulations, you got out. And second, I hate you so much, I'm happy to see you leave.
Wow.
Yeah. So in her lawsuit, Karen argues that not receiving a farewell card was a breach of equality law, and that it reflected a failure to acknowledge her existence within the company. Oh, God, maybe this is why nobody felt compelled to sign it. You are literally the embodiment of why somebody wouldn't sign your damn card. Because if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, is the equivalent of not signing the card, right?
Exactly. Yeah, first of all, I don't see, like, not signing unless the person is really awful. But why would you ever sue for something like this?
Oh, it's just hammering home the point that you're kind of a real Karen. After suing her ex-employer over not getting a farewell card, she got roasted by judge for conspiracy theory mentality instead. Yikes! Louis Prado over at Vice.com put this article together. Dear God, it actually went through. I mean, it actually started to get prosecuted.
That's amazing that really made it anywhere. I guess since she threw in some discrimination claim, that's probably why it got a little bit of traction. But there's no obligation to provide that.
No, I mean, that's like a bonus because somebody decided that you were likable enough to actually put together. The same thing with birthdays and whatever's, vacation. You're throwing a party because somebody's going on vacation for a week and they want to say bye, that kind of thing. Any of these gaps where you're gone and then return or gone for good, people want to throw a party because you're likable, not because you're a prick. So there are some other more serious complaints in the case, 40 of them, including claims of sexual harassment, unfair dismissal, victimization. But the tribunal dismissed all of the allegations, with Judge Palmer saying Karen's perspective on her workplace experience was clouded by a conspiracy theory mentality. He said that a lot of her complaints, which she details in her filing, amount to nothing more than misunderstandings of normal social interactions. For instance, she says that she used the word whiz in a card for a colleague, then says another colleague copied her use of the word while simultaneously correcting her spelling to add another Z at the end of the word. This was apparently a workplace infraction worthy of a lawsuit. Judge Palmer ultimately emphasized that there was no evidence linking her grievances to her sex, and that she was just being overly suspicious. Plus, you're
Yeah, that
gone.
almost seems like a paranoia kind of thing or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, though, the culture of the organization really does breed that type of suspicion.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's more than something like a card, but
Yeah.
I would assume if it was something more than a card, she would have sued about that.
It's essentially where there's smoke, there's fire, but sometimes it's a barbecue and people are having just a good time. And when you can document 40 instances, you have your head somewhere that it shouldn't be, and you should be happy that you're leaving as long as you're on to better things.
Yeah, I mean, well, it depends on what the things are, right? You're spending your whole time documenting it, but if it's things like somebody spelled something differently, not really seeing the gravity of that. If it's somebody yelling at somebody or doing something abusive, obviously that's a different issue.
Well, maybe the Nazi part of grammar Nazi was a little bit too apropos, right? Let's move on. The
We
next
don't know
article.
the identity of the person who changed the spelling.
That's right. Their name is Adolf. So the next article is over in the Hatch Ideas channel. Carmel, Indiana is the best small city in America for affordability, education, and quality of life. Let's take a look at the top 10. But Wallet Hub compared 1,318 cities across 5 key categories in order to rank the best small cities in America. Let's try that in a small town. Celia Fernandez over at Make It at cnbc.com put the article together. Everybody is happy.
Have you even heard of Carmel, Indiana?
Indiana.
And no, I know it's not caramel, which I kind of said it, but yeah.
Carmel, Indiana. No. But hey, they checked out 1,300 cities with populations between 25,000 and 100,000. I don't think that I've ever lived in any place with less than 100,000 people at this point in my entire existence, short of maybe no, not even there. I don't know of a single place. Anyway, each city was scored from 1 to 100 based on data from several sources, including the U.S. Census Bureau, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I think
I'm a little afraid of what they were testing from the FBI for this. Maybe the lack of data.
I think there's a thing called a data book that has, hold on.
Okay, maybe that's it, like the economic health or something like that.
Yeah. Something is really bogging my system down. It must be Steam. Go away, Steam. You're bugging me. Yeah, maybe the UCR, the Uniform Crime Reporting Program. Maybe that was part of it. Huh. Yeah. Well, anyway, Indianapolis suburb held onto its number 1 spot. Apparently it was there already. Thanks in part to its median annual household income of nearly $133,000. Oh my God. This is that Middletown place, the one from...
from a show?
What is that show? Yeah.
The Good Witch?
The Good Witch. Yeah, where nobody paid with any money. Everybody was happy except for
was happily and pretty well off.
Like everybody was making $130,000 or more because they were all doctors or investment brokers, bankers. Even the artists there were so well off that they could afford $8 lattes but never have to pay for it. And everybody, it was all bubbles and witchcraft. Anyway, had a median credit score of 775. Its 3% unemployment rate is one of the lowest in the country. Residents of Carmel spend about 14% of their income on rent, which is far and away lower than...
Yeah, and if you're making a decent household income, that's even better. They probably do have high quality of life.
It's a suburb of Indianapolis. Carmel offers an affordable place to live near the city. You get all the amenities of the big city without the big city. Wallet Hub report found that 31% of Americans prefer to live in the suburbs, while 16% preferred urban areas and 24% like rural communities.
And a whole other group don't know where they want to live.
Correct. Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of percentage that's missing. That's about 30%.
Yeah. 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 Which is really interesting because that's probably the middle. The people who don't really know, there's too many factors to sit there and say, I really like being in. But I would say that
Right.
this is actually on par right here with my research in another area. And that the remaining 24%, which makes up the other half of the half, are largely um, ideologically bent in various different ways, but because they all align under this massive umbrella of that, I'm being cagey intentionally, folks. But anyway, yeah, I think I can account for this in other areas, and the remainder, 26%, that are like very specifically issue driven. Anyway, so these are the 10 best small cities to live in America. So Carmel, Indiana, Brookfield, Wisconsin is not that far off.
Oh, right. I see. That's their index or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nobody got
Oh, wait.
out of a C.
Yeah, these are all really tightly grouped.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, yeah. But notice, nobody even got a B. Not even
Okay, that
close
is
to a B.
interesting. Yes. And I
They're
would say roughly half of these are reasonably well known, and some are, unless you're in the area, you probably don't know about them at all.
quite interesting, right? So the ones
Mhm.
that are from Indiana are probably really close to the perimeter of Carmel.
Well, that's true. Like they have similar, like maybe they're all suburbs of, say,
They're
Indianapolis or something.
counties, probably share a county.
Right.
And same thing with like Wisconsin, same thing with Pennsylvania, that kind of thing. That, like, well, there's only one Pennsylvania in there, but Wisconsin, Tennessee, Indiana, they're all the same. Like that one little cluster is right around one particular area. I'm willing to bet, but only $1. So the average Brookfield home mentioned up here, I guess it's number 2 in Wisconsin.
Okay, so Brentwood is actually a suburb of Nashville.
Oh, Brentwood. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I looked up that one, but
Yeah.
just out of
So
curiosity.
you'd find them close. Like Carmel is really close to Indianapolis, right? So all the rest of these are either right brushed up against Indianapolis, benefiting from the proximity and the fiscal success and the social aspects of it. And that's the key ingredient here.
Aha. So Brookfield, Wisconsin, suburb of Milwaukee. Like these are all, I think these are very similarly constructed, right? They seem to
Yeah.
be suburbs of a major
Yeah.
city, just like the Indiana one was described in the article.
Yeah, and that's actually it's one of the metrics that I use in my calculation for the election data that I've got. And essentially, these little breakout communities are, just imagine there's social pressure within a city. And as that social pressure builds and builds and builds, the density causes a bubble to form, pop, and you get this little suburb. That suburb usually has initially high costs if there was a community further away that was part of the state, but not part of considered a suburb of a major city, those houses would be cheaper. But when a suburb pops out of the main social pressure, they have higher costs per property on average. Why? Because they know that they can demand more money from the people that are in the city. Well, the ones that are affluent enough to diverge from the city. So, and just to show you this, the average Brookfield home is $475,810, up 5.1% over the last year. The median rent for all bedroom counts and property types in Brookfield is $1,734, according to a website called Zumper. But like the average median house in the United States is somewhere around $350,000.
Yeah, that's a very high priced area to be in this listing.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but all of these are when they talk about suburb, they're talking like 5 minutes away from downtown kind of suburb. This is not distanced in any way, but I'm more distracted by the fact that 70.99 is the highest score, and it's the happiest place on earth.
Exactly. That says a lot about American society.
Broken. Yeah, this should be, and either they're very cognizant of the fact that they have a suppressed and they don't want to do grade inflation, right? Because you either,
which I respect, right? Because then it doesn't really reflect it.
yeah, like I used to do website evaluations, and I had somebody attack me once because they said, well, why did I get such a poor grade if you said that it was a great site? And I said, because you missed on certain metrics of my evaluation, and therefore you cannot get to, and you don't start out at 100 and get nicked down. You start out at 0 and you work your way up, and you hit certain metrics and you get a 90 or whatever. And I had the grading schema of 100 was max, right? So when they said that, I was like, well, you may have been the best in this batch, but you still got, a 70.99. I don't grade based on the cohort of the evaluation. It's on an overall schema. They were not too happy with that, but I stopped doing that a long time ago. Anyway, let's move on. The next article and the last one for today, we're running a little long, so I guess we're going to be stuck in time until tomorrow, which is a good reason we're not going to do the show on Thursday. So technology today is where it is. Scientists discover mysterious magma structures beneath the moon. And when I saw that at first, I was like, wait, so there's the moon, and then so underneath it, there were
like hanging in space.
It's like moonsticles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is it like stalactites or stalagmites?
Are they holding on with might, or are they hanging on tight? Is that, which one is might? Wait, stalactites is they hold on tight, right?
To the
they
ceiling.
Hang from the ceiling. Yeah. So Chang'e 6's retrieval of lunar far side samples reveals crucial insights into the SPA's basin intrusive magmatism, aiding the understanding of lunar origins and geological processes. And aliens. So lunar igneous activities, including intrusive and extrusive magmatism, not magnetism, magmatism, and their products contain significant information about the lunar interior and its thermal state. It's made of cheese.
Is it warm cheese or cold cheese?
What is the stuff from Canada with the French fries and the gravy and cheese?
Poutine?
Poutine, yeah. Right? It has cheese and stuff on it. It is. Oh, and cheese curd, right?
Right. Well, that's more from, I think, Wisconsin area, but
yeah. So it basically has the temperate zone of Wisconsin, which apparently has several.
You know what? I wonder if Brookfield got scored on its cheese curds.
There you go. Oh, man. So the University of Hong Kong put the article together. It's posted at scitechdaily.com, and there is the Chang'e 6 mission, marked the first successful retrieval of lunar farside samples, focusing on the SPA's basin. The South Pole Aitken basin on the far side have long been considered the key to rebalancing the asymmetrical understanding of the moon and disclosing the lunar dichotomy conundrum. Supposedly, though, like all of the craters, they don't go as, there isn't a, like really deep craters and really shallow craters, they all seem to stop at the same depth, supposedly. Anyway, far side lunar sample return. Earlier this year, Chang'e 6 mission successfully launched on May 3rd, landed on the lunar surface on June 2nd, and returned to the Earth on June 25th, carrying a total of 1,935.3 grams of lunar soil. See, even that the embodiment of this picture like shows that it all stops at a certain point.
Yeah, and that's really strange.
I say that it's because that this is actually an alien ship piloted into orbit, and it's always facing Earth at the point where it's always facing Earth, because it's locked, right? Because it's just a giant camera, and it's watching Earth evolve. NaNoWriMo, folks, just 10 days away, or no, 14 days away. Get on it. There's some more cannon fodder for you. Or creative fodder, I should say, not cannon fodder. So the study revealed their extensive distribution in obscure nature with significant implications for petrogenesis of lunar plutonic rocks in Chang'e 6 mission, which will facilitate scientists' further study of the lunar far side. Essentially, there's intrusive magmatism at the landing site and its surroundings based on remote sensing data. So the study has traced potential plutonic materials in the Chang'e 6 samples and found that, I guess, magnesium, is that it? Mg sweet materials?
Yes,
highly likely so. Exist. Yep. Primarily from the western peak ring of the Apollo basin, delivered by Chaffee S crater. These magnesium-rich materials contain crucial information on the origin of mysterious creep-poor Mg sweet rocks.
This is not written in language that is accessible to the public. You know, it's not using those things like the neat NASA acronyms and everything.
Yeah, so that one threw me for a loop here. What is creep? We're doing it live. Yeah, they don't even define what creep is anywhere in this article. Hold on. We're already late, so we might as well. So creep is an acronym of the letters K for potassium, rare earth elements, and phosphorus, and it's a geochemical component. So yeah, so these magnesium sweet rocks don't have much potassium, rare earth elements, or phosphorus compared to others, I suppose, within that geographic space. So they discovered 2 heavily degraded floor fractured craters, inspiring them to identify more similar features on the moon. All indicate that intrusive magmatism is abundant in the Chang'e 6 sampling region. So magma rose at some point, but what actually is going on down there? Is there anything in there?
That's how I feel about the magmatism too.
Yep. All right, folks. Well, that's it. We're going to call it because we have intrusive catmatism.
That might be another form of alien life.
Oh, it's alien. All right. All right. We're out of here. So with that in mind, we're going to launch ourselves away from the dark side of the moon, and that'll bring us back to the front page of ohmTown.com. Yes, I'm going to remedy this. The icons have decided to take the afternoon off. It's okay. I changed the menu and I purged the images. I'm a dummy. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and the Sentient AI is going to dance a little jig and sing us off once more.
Woo, woo, woo. See oh, they're not really moving around.
What?
I was trying to get the icons to kind of dance around, but they're not really going crazy.
Oh yeah, what's going on with that? Whoa, not that.
Okay, well, good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us in the time machine for Non Sequitur News. Be back tomorrow for another episode.
You got it. See you soon.